Assalamu alaikum. Thanks for watching the HotConflict.com video series. Well, we're continuing on this next section. In the last section, we talked about where we were, how we got to where we are, and what the journey was like, and how the story of truth and parts of the unseen world got us to where we are today. Well, we talked about the stories of the prophets all the way to the Prophet Muhammad, and we talked about some of the unseen parts, and now from now on we're going to just have fun, right? Let's just have fun. We'll go from information from today, we'll go to the past, we'll go to the future, well, a little bit into the future. We'll talk about different wild things. We'll take all kinds of different subjects, and this is the part of the show where from now on you're going to be getting to do a lot more interaction, because the world around us is changing. And as those of us of the light are beginning to speak more openly and disclose various things, the effects and the ripples and the fractals as they spread out across the earth are changing the world. Well, let's go straight into the disclosure. We're going to get into some serious information today, go right into the heart of the matter. Well, in the last section, we had a little introduction, recap, heart, lovey. We all know the basics, right? We are here in a pattern of ascension. The last time we left off was way back in November when we were telling you certain disclosures are getting ready to happen. And today even is part of this disclosure process, as you'll begin to see when we go on. Now, we said that we are in a state where we are looking at the actual truth from the final messenger Muhammad. And you have in front of you someone who is telling you the story of the ancients from the Prophet Muhammad on what his message truly meant for the first time in the English language to the Western world. That for the first time the knowledge of the East, my brethren, is coming to the West, and those who have the ability to know how to speak of the light are telling the story. And so today we want to go right back into where we are and talk about what is the state of the field right now, where we are today. Because if you've been following on the story, then you must realize what I was trying to get to you by telling you that you have been activated. That the story of the prophets and the pattern that built is an actual map of archetypal characters. And the connections that I have given you with the unseen world are now enough for you to be able to see how the map is playing out in the world in real time. And we said one of the things we do well, I called myself a map maker, for example, in the new age of ascension. We're talking about this concept of ascension, that of course the prophet was gifted with the most noble gift, which is the very recital of the spoken word of your Lord, as spoken by the Lord Most High, brought down from the highest level of the heavens by the archangel Gabriel, and spoken by the Prophet Muhammad to all of us, and then memorized verbatim, word for word, directly from your Lord to Gabriel, to the Prophet, to the companions, and that very same word is that which we recite to you in some of this series. And that same word and that same Quran, the recital of our Lord Most High, the final revelation, not the gospel of Jesus, the word as spoken to him, or the tablets of Moses, the Torah as written by the hand of your Lord, but the Quran, actually the spoken kalam of Allah, the very word, because the final messenger is given the final word. From beginning there was the word, to the end there is the word. But we said the second most miraculous gift to the messenger was that because he was the last messenger, he would have to have the pattern of ascension established in his sunnah, in his way. So early on in his ministry, the prophet ascends to the highest level of the heavens, 7 heavens, and returns, ascends in physicality, not going through a dualistic situation as we have as understood by the followers of Jesus, who was the last messenger to also ascend. But part of the test of the followers of Jesus is whether they believe in the ascension process before seeing the second coming. We said we're in a state right now where those who are waiting for the second coming are picking a path that is fraught with destruction, while those who are seeking the light are raising their own vibration along with the earth in a pattern of ascension, and they are doing so according to the sunnah, or the methodology as established by the Prophet Muhammad, without dying, without losing their body, oh my Christian brothers and sisters, without the need of resurrection. They are ascending now without losing their physical bodies. They are ascending in physicality. And this is the sunnah, or thing, that the Prophet demonstrated by traveling, time travel, to the Holy House in Jerusalem, again reflecting the unity of the family of faith. Jerusalem still being the direction of sacred geometry, of the prostration and the facing of those who were praying at the time, until the Holy House was returned to the Kaaba, or the lighted Holy House, both higher and lower Kaaba. And those of you who are searching into concepts like the Markaba and sacred geometry are now getting a little glimpse of what came in the past, but we're not getting into sacred geometry today. We're talking about the concept of ascension, that we have been dealing with ascension, and because now we understand some very basic principles, that on the journey of ascension itself, the Prophet was able to see the various realms and levels, and each of the various prophets or masters for each level of ascension, right? We know that different prophets were on different levels, and we're not going to cover that hadith today, but we have understood, right, that I tell you guys weird, wild stuff. And because you know that I tell you weird, wild stuff, we want to see is, does this fit within the sunnah? Like we said, that so many people are hearing the truth, even from a Muslim for the first time, that even those who call themselves card-carrying members of Muslim, which in actuality, brothers and sisters in the West, there is no monolithic group called Muslims, even though the Dark has told you we're at war with Islam. Which Muslims? I don't know, all of them. Well, there's not any real monolithic group, and this is important because as we're starting to see duality crumble away, the old structures are falling apart, and even those structures of the dark that were the strongest and most powerful are starting to lose cohesion because they're not monolithic. They're all based on individuals, and they were using their positions of power through force, and those positions are no longer there. And so the individuals from these other brotherhoods and societies of the dark are starting to come forward, and we're calling you, brothers and sisters, to the light. But we're saying now that if we understand this, then there have always been structures and hierarchies at the different realms, and there's been prophets to many other planets and people and nations and times, and that the story that we are in is actually quite far at the end, and that much has happened before us, right? This is a weird, wild story. But today we want to go straight into this concept of ascended masters. Now we're saying that the Prophet comes as the final example of ascension for his ummah. And there have been those who have been believing that it is not possible to ascend like the Prophet did. Yet those of us who are now in the field of ascension and teaching the light are telling you that beings of the light have ascended from this earth They've always been ascending from this earth.